Hi there, if you want to learn how to create sound effects, you are in the right place. In this video, I'll be showing you how to create that sci-fi power-up sound effect that we just heard all inside of Faceplant. So with that said, let's get going. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do here is to load up Faceplant. I'm going to load a new instance here, and I'm actually going to start with the sample generator. And the first sound that you want to import into here, as our sample, is some sort of engine sound. Now, if you're not sure how to create an engine sound, I'll have a link up or in the cards above on the top right. You can check it out, and I'll show you exactly how I created these kind of sci-fi engine sounds. So I'm going to grab this one here to use in our design. So I'm just going to open that back up. And if I click Control-Alt, I should be able to drag it and drop it in here. Sometimes it's a little bit finicky and you kind of have to play around with it, but it should work like that. All right, now once I'm in here, I'm going to want to create some sort of loop sound. So I like the opening over here. So if I just play it here near the beginning and I play something. Right, I really like how full and gritty that is. So I'm going to do that around here. And yeah, so I'm going to make sure it's on loop and I want it to be ping pong so it goes back and forth. And I'm going to increase the crossfades here so we have a bit smoother crossfades. And maybe I'll shorten this guy up here. All right, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to have an LFO here, and this is just going to be a ramp up LFO just like that. And I'm going to want to make it pretty slow. So I'm going to start around, I don't know, let's say here, and we can tweak it later if we need to. But basically this is going to be our one LFO that's going to be assigned to pretty much all the parameters, all the effects and everything in this patch to create this power up sound. So this is a common technique I like to use is just having one parameter, assign it to multiple different parameters, or sorry, one LFO and assign this LFO to multiple parameters in the patch to create a sound. So I'm going to assign this to the pitch here, and I'm going to bring it up probably an octave or two. So that sounds good to me. I want to make sure that it only goes once, and then it's going to stop. So I'm going to do that. So it's still a little bit clicky, but I think we can deal with that a bit later, especially around the loop points here. The next thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to choose a wavetable here, and it's just going to be a sine. And what I'm going to do here actually is I'm going to turn off the volume envelope for our sampler here. So we're not going to hear it if we play it, right? If I play it, nothing. We're only going to hear the sine wave. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to assign our out here and put it into the phase here. Right, so it gives it kind of that robotic sound. So if I turn this off and I turn this back on, this is what we had before. Right, and now this is what we have. Right, it's a bit more aggressive, but it sounds really good. Now I'm going to turn on our unison here, and you can try out different modes here. Let's see what we can find. All right, so to me, I like the frequency stack or the pitch stack, but try different ones here, experiment with different ones. It's just going to change up your sound a little bit, but that's what I like here. So here, I'm going to do a few other things here. First thing is I'm going to bring the volume down quite a bit here. And next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start to add some effects because this is going to really change up our sound. So the first thing I'm going to do is a comb filter here. I like turning on the stereo. It makes it feel a lot bigger. Next, I'm going to do a frequency shifter, and this is going to be a big part of our sound here. So here again, you can experiment with different frequencies and experiment how much you want to pitch up or down. For me, though, I'm going to do negative about 1 kilohertz, and then I'm going to go up to, I don't know, maybe around 4 kilohertz, maybe something like that. So that sounds pretty good to me. All right, so next what I'm gonna do is a trick here that you can also do where we're basically going to start to crossfades between two different sounds. So right now, this is going to be our first sound. That's going to be the start of our power up. Right, but then what I want to happen is I want our sound to slowly crossfade into a different sound. So I'm actually going to choose, so not a wavetable, I'm going to choose another sampler here. And what I did here is I created this other sound, and I did that using, so this is the sound here. Let me play it first. And this is a really simple sound. The way that I created it is here with Faceplant. I just had this wavetable, which isn't growls, and I was just modulating it with an LFO here, nothing crazy. And then what I did is I added Fracture XT. I just randomized it, put the dry wet all the way up, and that's the sound I got. I just printed it out. It's a really simple patch here, nothing complex. So yeah, just printed that out. I got this cool kind of sci-fi sound, I guess, if you will. And then I want to import that now back into here. So I'm going to do that next. All right, so I've imported that into our patch here. And I'm going to do a similar thing. So I'm going to turn these off for now, but I'm going to do a similar thing to what we had before, except this time I'm just going to choose a little section, a little snippet of it to loop here. So let's try this one here, and let's see how it sounds. So I kind of like that. So one of the things I'm going to do here is I'm going to add a unison here. I'm going to go maybe hard. Right, that's just going to make it sound, give it that sci-fi feel there, maybe even more. Right, and if you want, of course, play around with this. Maybe you want to choose a different take or a smaller portion. So I like that. I'm just going to add an effect here, a shaper, just add a bit of saturation, and it's also going to lift up our sound a little bit. So why don't we do that here? Perfect. So now if we want to crossfade, what I'm going to do here is I want this to be at 0. I don't want to hear it at the beginning. I only want it to come in later. So I'm going to bring it in later. So I'm going to bring it into 100% here, and just like that. So now if I play it, you won't hear anything at the beginning, and then it's going to slowly come in. Right, so that's perfect. Now I want to do the opposite for these two groups up here now. I want them to be heard at the beginning and then to slowly fade away. So I'm going to do that right here. So I'm going to make sure this goes down to negative 50%, so down to 0. Then same thing with this one, down 40% to 0, just like that. So now if I play it, I should hear these two first, and then this one should come in after. Right, and if I play it higher on my keyboard, I'm going to get a different characteristic, so it might sound something like this. All right, sounds pretty good. I'm just going to make a few tweaks here. So I'm going to increase the pitch of our wavetable here of our sine wave up 1 octave to plus 12 semitones. That's pretty good. Now I'm just going to add a few other effects again here. I'm just going to add another shaper. And this time I'm going to choose a more complex one here. I'm going to choose the sinus. And I'm going to want to make sure that this is not too present. So we'll mix that. So I'm going to do it to about 40, and I'm going to play around with the drive so it's not too in your face. So I'm just going to slowly bring that in here like this. Perfect. And then one other effect that I like to have. All right, and now another effect that I personally like to have is a flancher. I just find this gives it a nice kind of wet or mushy feel to the sound. So let's play around with this a little bit and see what we can come up with. All right, so I'm going to modulate quite a few of these parameters here. The first one's going to be the rate. So I'm going to start off pretty high, and I want it to go down to about 10 or 11, so that's good. I'm going to bring the mix all the way up as well. So if we don't hear it at the beginning, it's only going to come in slowly here. And I'm going to modulate the feedback here. So I want maybe negative feedback. Let's see what this is like. I'm going to make sure it goes to 50% here, just so it goes to neutral when we get to our sustained. All right, so now if I put my depth all the way up just so we hear the effect here. I mean, that could work. That could sound great. I can even add the scroll here. So I like that it's very minimal, so I'm going to do just a little bit here. Now, if you ever want to play around with the crossfade, so I'm pretty happy with the effects here. I'm not too happy with the crossfade and how the first group is kind of going out really quickly. So what I can do is you can play around with this here. So maybe I'll do like this. So to get to this screen here, you just right click on the modulation area here, and then you can play around with the curve. All right, and there you go. I just adjusted the levels a little bit. The LFO, the modulation, the curve here for the modulation. And with that, I have a pretty good sound effect that I'm pretty happy with here. All right, thanks so much for watching. If you have any comments, questions, please leave it down below. I always read everything. Recently, I've been super busy though, so I haven't replied a lot, left a lot of comments on YouTube, but I do read everything. And if you have any suggestions for other videos, leave it down there as well. And if you want to see another video, I'll have sci-fi or something of that nature on the screen right now. And I think that's it for now. Thank you for watching all the way to the end. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.